Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pails, steel-toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure. Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I quote the John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Hi guys. We were trying to hear from KP and it got blown out.
You ruined the good surprise.
I know. I had it in the rehearsal.
We just nailed this. Guys, I promise we nailed this the first time.
We nailed it in the first time. We're going to hear from Kristaps Porzingis because this is what mainly this show is about. Because Kristaps Porzingis, by all accounts, is
fully dressed and back, baby.
Back with a question mark? Is he back?
Action. Yes.
I mean, he's gonna be available.
He's back.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
I feel like are you segueing to the clip or are you actually asking us?
He's available. We're going to play the sound because I think a lot of it is reacting today. And I think it's almost unfair to have the conversation without people. I'm not sure who heard it. But Kristaps Porzingis plans to play in Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Yes,
it was reported before we got to Celtics practice today, Bobby. Shams puts out the report.
What about me?
The Porzingis plans to play. And that was what was tracking the whole time. We believed that that's what was going to happen. And I kind of thought today was the day they're going to make Kristaps available, and they did. And then Kristaps took to the podium. How did you feel about it? And again, we'll hear it, but did you feel great listening to him? I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to be a little bit of a wet blanket with this. I kind of wanted him to
look a little hesitant,
more confident.
Yeah.
Bobby, your initial thoughts, and we'll play the sound, some of the sound. It's a fairly long clip, but it's a little bit of hemming and hawing from Kristaps here. Your initial thought?
Yeah, he's an unfiltered guy. So I think we got unfiltered answers from him where he's certainly not 100%. And we knew that was going to be the case going into these finals. It's just not possible for him to be at that point. But he's going to play and he's going to try it out. And, there were a couple of times where he had to guard himself up there. We didn't get the full answer on his pain threshold. We didn't get the full answer on how close he is to 100%. But he's going to be out there. I think that's inevitable.
Let's play some of it. He is going to be out there, but again, right out of the gate, Corrales comes in hot with a question that we're all kind of curious is, okay, if he's playing, what's he going to be like?
100%? Are you 100% right now?
How you doing, guys? Good question. I don't know. We'll see. I have a couple more days.
Yikes.
And I've done a lot of work up until this point, and I've done everything needed to get back into playing shape, and we'll see on the night.
So are you planning on being there for Game 1?
That is the plan. So right now, but yeah, again, it's a couple more days, and I think that can make a difference. So every day gives me a bit more time to get even better, so working.
Kristaps, what kind of things have you been able to do on the court so far, and what do you kind of still need to do before Thursday to be ready for Game 1?
Yeah, I've practiced, especially the lighter practices. I was good.
Getting dressed?
Of course, not a lot of time for me to get a lot of scrimmaging, a lot of,
went hard.
Or, no actual game minutes. So in that sense, it hasn't been perfect, obviously. But yeah, I've tried to build up as much as I can leading up to this point, and from all aspects, and
this is sad.
Yeah,
I'm sad now. Thank you, John.
A couple more days will definitely help.
You talked about the limits you've had, Kristaps, in terms of scrimmaging and running. Is some of this going to be that you aren't going to know exactly where you're at until you're in a game situation Thursday, and you are planning and pushing off and going at full speed and seeing how it reacts and feels, or do you feel good about where that's at?
I think the medical staff would not put me out there if they wouldn't be confident that I'll be good. So I've done the things necessary to like check the boxes, and that's it. Of course, like it's hard to imitate the same intensity in practice. No, like that intensity is going to be a completely different level. But I have to be confident that it'll be all right.
So
I thought this was going to be a fun show, but I'm realizing that I was tricked, and this is not going to be a fun show.
So that's the thing, is like the vibe getting to the Garden, getting to Auerbach was he's back. The report was out there. He goes and talks, and instantly it's like, this guy's talking, this guy's playing. This was not, I'm sorry. I don't mean to like be a total wet blanket or burst a bubble. It's not gamesmanship, and it's not gamesmanship. He tried, he couldn't hide it, that like he's not sure what's going on. He's not. This is not a game. If it is, hats off. He fooled us all. But it wasn't being coy like we'll see and this and that. It was legit like, I have no idea what's going to happen when I go out there, but I'm going to give it a go because it's the finals. And that's not what you wanted to hear. You wanted to hear
hockey guy.
In a perfect world, what you wanted to hear is, I could have played last series, honestly. This extra rest was great. It's all I needed. I feel as good as I'm going to get. Would have been nice to get game action, but I'm pain-free, moving great. Everything is fine. No concern at all. No pain. Happy to go. That would be great. You didn't get that. I'll leave the 5%, of the Porzingis pie for gamesmanship, but I didn't think so, Bobby. You?
Yeah, he's just getting back into practice, and that was obviously the reporting that was out there. There was hope for a return late last series, but that doesn't seem like it would have been feasible, at least based on the activity level he was able to do up to that point. He wasn't doing shoot-arounds, wasn't practicing, and it feels like he's just getting back into at least the heavy portion of the practices. And one thing I do wish I asked today was how he reacted to the heavier practices that we obviously weren't at over the weekend.
But he said they didn't happen. He said light scrimmaging. So
yeah. So we saw him out there. It looked tentative, right? It didn't look like his usual workouts where you'd see him doing a little bit more contact, post stuff with his coach. So he's at a pretty early stage, it seems like, in terms of getting back into the flow of games. So he's just going to work his way back in. And that's what was tough to gauge today from Joe. You don't get a sense whether Joe knows his plan for how he's going to utilize him either. And this is the difficult part. This is what we talked about last show in terms of his return. Like, if it was full speed ahead, great. You'd throw him out there. You'd get the impact of him being out there, and you'd know what he's going to provide. And Joe projected that was going to be the case today, but you don't get the feel that that's going to be the case. It feels like there'll be a minutes limit. It feels like they'll be watching him closely. Who knows if he even starts? And you're just going to sort of feel out his impact. And the one thing Joe's pretty much experienced every hurdle, every situation as coach so far over the last 2 years. He hasn't dealt with a starter who's working his way back in, and you're not sure if you can trust him 100% yet, and you might have to kind of feel out how he's playing. You might have to trade off his minutes with Al. And as you've talked about John last year, he struggled with that a little bit with the Smart, Brogdon, White thing. So they can certainly go double big for portions and play it that way. They could certainly pull Porzingis in favor of Horford late. I think they've done that at different points this year, but that's been more foul trouble stuff. Is he going to be able to get away from Porzingis if Porzingis isn't on a limit, if Porzingis is the starter, and go to Horford if that's what they need to do late in a game? That's going to be the challenge here, I think. And again, this is a finals environment. There's not a lot of easing your way in. So again, and to the comment here, he's coming back off a calf strain. He's not 100%. There's going to be some sort of restriction, I would imagine, unless he is close to 100% and he's just playing coy.
I have another possible take on it, but Jimmy, your reaction to hearing it, and again, I didn't mean to make you sad. I didn't.
I feel like I was.
He's not going to play 40 minutes, John.
I feel like I was bamboozled. I saw the tweet go out. It sounded like we were going to have. And here's the thing, for those who are like, "Oh, you should know better," I've been working all day. I saw some of the tweets, the quotes coming across the Twitter, but after watching him, the way he kind of.
He's 3 weeks.
His expressions, his hesitation, his pause, his, that's the plan. And like kind of thinking very, very like really thinking about what he's saying before he says it. It's not just like, I'm ready to go. I'm back. Like, let's do this. I'm excited to play. I feel great. I went hard the last couple days and I'm feeling like myself again. None of those boxes were checked when it was like waiting to hear something that reassured you
guys.
that he felt confident. So
this was not him being coy. This was not
no. I honestly, like, what would that do? Like Dallas is gonna like huddle up in the coach's room, or gonna, well, guys, he looked confident.
I think
like,
that stuff's silly.
Throw everything out and start over.
I know it helps you sleep at night. It wasn't.
No, what would have helped
the
me
Celtics
sleep
not
at night
showing him to anybody might have been Joe. Not if KP was 100% and Joe said nothing about him until tip off, gamesmanship 100%. This wasn't. He went out there to answer questions, didn't want to lie. And
I almost wonder why.
I don't even know why he spoke.
Thank you. I almost wonder why he spoke, because it didn't seem like he was really ready to answer the questions. And it's like, if he's not prepared if he doesn't know the answers, and if he doesn't know how ready he is to play, how can you expect the coaching staff to know how ready he is? How can you expect his teammates to know how ready he is?
So that's what I'm still stuck on, Jimmy.
And I agree. This is who he is. He's open. He's honest. He just lays it out there. He's not bullshitting. And what I will say is this: the only thing that I think can allow people to potentially make themselves feel better, throw out the gamesmanship thing. It's not what it is. It's not. He's not 100% and hasn't been for a while. He's not. He's just beginning basketball.
And like
activity.
you said, John, if it wasn't the finals, he's not playing Thursday.
No chance.
There's based on his track record. I mean, you just watch his entire career. He's not a guy, and that's the knock on him, by the way. Yeah. He's not a guy that's going to play hurt. He's just not. So yeah, it probably is very uncomfortable for him to sit up there.
As great as it is to have him back,
be told like, "Hey, you're medically cleared, man. It's just up to you now."
We'll get into that, Bobby. 1 second. The only thing I'll say to it is this: the only thing that can make you feel a little better is it's possible that the Celtics medical staff has felt he's been fine for a long time. He's checked every medical box. He himself is unsure and tentative. He's worried. He knows what it felt like. He's worried about the Achilles. He doesn't want to go out there, and he's going to be a little hesitant and tentative to go full bore because he hasn't done it yet. So the only thing that's possible is he might actually be physically healthier than he let on in that press conference. He's just a little bit afraid. He's not.
He got the clearance from
and
Dr.
that's what
Wick.
I think. That's what I landed on as my most likely.
Wick's in the back of the press conference, like.
That's what I landed on because he said it, and Joe had a bite about it too.
Yeah, who's he looking at?
Yeah,
it's a good explanation, John. Yeah, good theory.
That's what I think is happening. Is he's not sure, but medically, I think he's checked the boxes.
Fine, but John.
But also, he's like, well, they put Rob back out there, and now he's dead. I
don't think he's thinking about Rob, but he's thinking about himself.
He's not thinking about Rob, but we might be, or the Gordon Hayward situation. Guys that came back didn't feel confident or comfortable out there, and just didn't look themselves. So he has to. He might be.
And he's a unique
healthy.
Case, Jimmy, because he's had so many injuries, and so when you think about it, he's probably been in situations where maybe he felt like he was coming back too early and he aggravated something. This certainly is an injury that can be aggravated. And that's certainly a risk he's taken coming back. Right. But this has been his mindset all along that he's expressed, is that he wants to come back as quick as possible. I think he wanted to come back at a historic rate at one point, he said, which didn't happen here. So the reporting, as John lays it out there, would make sense because maybe those Indiana reports are a little bit of a push. Like, all right, maybe we'll see you in the late stages of the series.
A little bit from the Celtics side of things. You do wonder if there's a tug of war behind the scenes a little bit, which the Celtics are like, you're good, dude. And he's like, nope. And we're not saying
you're gonna go out there and tell them that you're good.
But again, this is how the reporting works, guys. Okay, they're getting it from player or team. There is no benefit. When these guys put that stuff out there, it's not made up. It's player or team. Some guys are getting it from the players, and you kind of know because it benefits them. When the player pushback on injuries is always the reports are it's much worse than was initially anticipated because they want fans to not hate them and get mad. When it comes from he could play as early as blank, that's team pressure a lot of times, something
And
internal.
to their credit, they didn't put pressure on him immediately. Like, they didn't put a
Yeah.
timeline out. They didn't push him early in the playoffs. Like, certainly this is something that, like, 3 to 4 weeks you could start to talking about pushing back from, and they didn't need him. That was a big thing over the last 2 rounds here. Now they probably need him a little bit. And so it's great to have him back, but the worry here, whether it's a case where he might be tentative or a case where he's just going and it's less than 100% because it's not going to get any better from here. Either one of those scenarios, you're saying this is a wrinkle in the series that creates some uncertainty. And there's certainly uncertainty in this series to begin with, but
Certainly
even if
uncertain.
they didn't have him, you'd still be feeling pretty good about what they've been doing so far to where they could, at the very least, compete, right? And then maybe pull out some close games. Now you integrate him, and this is where I get to the second layer of concern here, John, that I mentioned already. Like, does Joe know how to handle this? Like, this is a big test for Joe right here, utilizing him correctly. And again, Joe's Joe at the podium. So I asked him today, how do you go about integrating him? How do you go about handling the minutes? Those kind of things. And he's just like, this guy's been playing basketball a long time. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Do
So
you have
they
Cavs,
just,
Bobby? Yeah.
they're just gonna roll him out there, and however he plays, he plays. Like, is that the plan?
It would appear so. Yes. What else is?
We'll see how it goes.
I think it's hockey shifts. I think it's 5-minute stints only. I think he starts. I think he plays 5 minutes regardless of how good it is. I think he comes out. I think he comes back. I think he's playing 5 minutes per quarter, and then possibly closing for the last 6 or 7, depending on how close the game is, up to 22 or 23 minutes max. That's about it.
Yeah, how effective he is. I mean,
that's what I think you're seeing,
it, right? I don't think they're just it's not like rec league where once he hits the 5-minute mark, he comes out. They'll see how he reacts to it out there.
But I just think they're going to do that. They're going to do short. That's what I think, because
off the bat maybe. But what you talking about in game 2? They're just going to stick to this plan, or are you talking about just game 1? See how
that's the other thing. This could change game to game. It's a tough spot to be in. I mean, you dealt with this with Rob, right? Every single game in that 2022 finals, it was like, what Rob are you getting tonight? And you hope that's not where it's going to be with Kristaps, because once he's back, once he's in the lineup again, you're relying on it. Like, you're not just going to shut him down because he's not playing well one night. He's part of the rotation now.
That's why I put this comment up there. Guys, it's not straight Luke replacement minutes. It's relying on KP and what type of game plan you have with KP in the lineup, both offensively and defensively, how you defend, what type of plays you're going to run, trying to get him open, running those pick and pops and putting him out into space, seeing if he can knock down shots, if he's got the lift to be able to do it, trying to use him potentially for lobs, trying to put him in the post. Like, if he's not moving well, has no spring and doesn't feel good, you're going to do that. And it's not going to work. You're not running plays for Luke. You're not depending on Luke. You're trying to survive Luke minutes against other teams' backups for short.
And you can just pull the plug on Luke
you pull the plug. You're like, I didn't like these 2 minutes, and he's out, and you're done. Porzingis, you're counting on for real stuff. So it's not simply just Porzingis at 50% is better than what they're going to do. You almost wonder an ineffective, and people will flip out over this. An ineffective Porzingis is worse than no Porzingis, because no Porzingis, we can't rely on it, and I'm not going to go to that well, but an ineffective one could really muck up what you do. So you're right. You don't know until you know, and you're out in game 1 of the finals experimenting. And that's not ideal. That's not an ideal scenario.
And in the finals, it gets tighter. Like, they can try their Hauser and Cornet and Tillman stuff, and I'm sure they're gonna off the bat. But when Dallas is running 6 guys and playing their starters 40 minutes, you're gonna roll out the bench crew against their starters? It's tough. This is look back at all the finals. Go back and look at the box scores from the finals. You play 6, 7 guys, and that 7th guy, it might be like a sprinkle of minutes. So especially with the 2 days off between these games, it's going to get tight out there rotation wise. So that's why I say, like, is it 35, 40 minutes you're going to need from him? You're probably going to split that up. He's probably going to be more limited, and it's probably going to be more single big because of that here, unless you're going to some double big in a bench rotation. This is actually an interesting Tillman series. Going back and watching those games, the second game was the first Tillman appearance. He played pretty well, 3 for 3, rotated pretty well alongside Horford. The Horford-Tillman numbers are pretty good in these playoffs, and it's a switchable guy. And he actually came out of that Indy series. I know he only played, 2 games, holding Indy's players to 37% when they went at him, which was pretty good. He held up well there. They could go to some zone with him. So I suspect they're going to go to a little Tillman here, especially if they don't have the full assortment of Porzingis minutes. But again, are you running Tillman against Kyrie, Luka, and
I don't want to see Tillman in
Garland and
Lively,
no. Right?
I'm sorry, I did, and now I don't.
You're gonna try it, John, off the bat, especially if Porzingis is limited.
No, you're right. You're right.
As the series goes on, it gets tighter. It does. I don't think you're gonna see Hauser in this series at all.
I don't know whether you will or won't, but we'll get into what else happens in the trickle-down effect of a effective Porzingis and an ineffective Porzingis. And Bobby, I said before, I think we all kind of felt this. If Porzingis was 100%, like 100% with no worry or restriction, I thought they were going 7 deep in the finals, and that's it, with Pritchard as the only guy who would see north of 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes off the bench there, outside of Al. Really, Al's going to get his 25 or 30. I thought that's really it. And I thought you might get Hauser for a stint, but really not a lot. So yeah, I think they're going to be a little limited there. And it's going to be even more so if Porzingis is really, really restricted. Let's tell you guys briefly about our partners over at Prize Picks. If you want to get in on some action here, check out Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, more than 5 million members. Ton of fun, exciting way to get on in the action. Watch your favorite sports and players pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. Win up to 100 times your cash. What's better than that, Jimmy?
Nothing.
Thank you. There he is. Lots of fun promotions. You can play with celebrities. Lots of different things that you can do. And I don't have my Tatum thing, guys. Do you have that? There it is. Check this one out.
Over 0.5. It's basically
all you got to do. It's a free square with Jason Tatum here. If he scores more than 0.5 points, so a single point in game 1, you get that square.
Yeah, you get that square. So if you're gonna make 4 higher or lower,
if you're gonna pick 4 more or less,
if you're gonna pick 4 more or less, that's 1 less that you have to worry, 1 fewer than you have to worry about. I don't want
exactly, and that's all you have to do. So once again, just check it out. It's fun. It's easy to access. Very intuitive. So download it today. And use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to 100. Once again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS for a first deposit match. And what else, guys? I got to tell you, you want to get in to the game?
Yeah, you do.
You need game time. Tickets are coming, right?
I should pay attention to this.
You do.
I'm all ears.
Pay attention. Yes. Game time, if you want to get in on the action, it's the best place to go here to get your NBA Finals tickets. We're excited about the finals here, of course. If you want to get in, catch games 1 or 2 at the Garden coming up here Thursday and Sunday. Check out Game Time. Price actually goes down on these tickets. It's a ticket marketplace. Prices go down as you get closer to tip-off. Killer last-minute deals. All-in prices. You get panoramic views from your seats and a lowest ticket price guarantee. That's what you get. Plus, so you find a better deal elsewhere, they will guarantee it up to 110%. So again, check it out. Flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, ticket coverage. It's covered. So you have no worry here. And all you have to do, take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets. Go to Game Time, download the app, create an account, and use the code CLNS. You get $20 off your first purchase. Not going to lie, guys, going to be expensive. Anything you can knock off these tickets for the NBA Finals, get in on it right here. $20 off your first purchase.
Get yourself a free beer.
The Game Time app today and use that code CLNS. Terms do apply.
If you can't go to the finals. probably can go to Fenway for next to nothing on game time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a great call.
Or you could just walk in. I don't even know if they have people at the gate anymore.
Yeah. Don't use it on the Red Sox. Yeah, you don't need to pay. In fact, I saw some clips tonight. Chris Sale was in the building. I don't think anybody in the stands even knew who he was.
Chris Sale, you mean the pitcher of the month for May?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, I didn't like the trade.
The guy who's
I was
played
on
better
record
in 1 month than his entire career with Boston.
I put it out there. It was the first obvious non-serious move they made because while he had disappointed you, he was still your best pitcher. And if you wanted to win this year, it was a disgraceful thing.
Don't. Yeah.
And they don't. And that's fine.
They're
They
paying
just
for him.
want
I don't want to give them any more. I don't want to give
they
them
just want to save money. That's what they want to do.
Just can't stand that organization.
So what else do you think happens here, guys? We're talking about like a little bit of the trickle down. Okay, like there's two scenarios. Porzingis is fine. Short rotation and you're good, even if his minutes are 25 to 30, you survive that. All that does is Al picks up some extra juice. You might be limited how much you play double big if Porzingis is limited, but maybe you sneak in a Tillman for a rotation or a Cornet and you get by there. It is going to be a short bench. If he's not, though, what do you do, Bobby?
Bobby, you talk. I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds.
You probably consider going back to Horford as a starter here, and I know people keep talking about this, and it'd be a little awkward bringing Porzingis off the bench, but if you're getting short bursts, if you want him to try to cook some of the rotating cast of characters that come in off the Dallas bench, including Lively, who's a little younger. I actually like Lively more than Gafford overall, but, he's a 20-year-old, a little bit of a slight frame, a guy who they can challenge in rotation out there, and who Porzingis played against quite a bit in that first game of the season. So maybe you flip those guys if you got to flip those minutes a little bit. But again, I think odds are you're probably going to start Porzingis on Thursday just to keep everything normal if there's no real restriction on him out there. So it's all going to depend. And it's interesting. I hope we'll hear a little bit more tomorrow, John, specifically about the restrictions that he might have, because you have to imagine they know them already, right? They're not just going to make them up Thursday morning. Like if they know he's going to go Thursday,
I don't think
know
so.
the limitations.
I don't think so fully. I think, Bobby, that they are going to feel it out some. I think they might have a cap, meaning like, no way I'm playing him over 28. But if he looks like he's moving okay, they'll comfortably get to that max. And if he's not, they'll pull it back. They might have a max, but I don't think they've got it set that like 5 here, 5 here, 5 here.
Yeah.
I think
you
they'll
could
wait
also
See that?
You could also start with Porzingis and close with Horford.
If he's ineffective, I think they'll peel it back because they'll have to.
How much of it will depend on how effective or ineffective Horford is with the pick and roll situation?
No, I mean Horford's going to play a ton here, no matter what. Especially since he'll probably be out there at the 4 a little bit with Porzingis. Like you're going to use Horford to cut out Hauser. Again, Hauser shot like 7% from 3 last series and couldn't do anything. So you're not going to play him in a final series. I don't think.
But Indiana was the difference between these two is Indiana plays much faster, faster.
So you think the game set up a little bit?
The game set up a little better for Hauser. Indiana was a horror. It was just a blur for him. It looked like he just couldn't keep up with anything. Everything was too fast. So
I just think you're going to bump up Tatum and Brown's minutes closer to 40 because you get the 2 days off.
No doubt.
And you're just going to need them. You're going to need more of them.
Yeah.
So
and you do. You have a break there. You've got 3 days off, but you got 2 days off between games 1 and 2 and between games 2 and 3, which is a nice little luxury for a ramp up here because you can go hard with the starters. They're all playing 40, and that's Holiday, that's White, that's everybody except your bigs. Which you'll have to rotate in based on Porzingis' effectiveness, and that's really what it comes down to. But I think Hauser will get a look. I think Hauser gets a look.
I think you try to choose.
Short. Yeah.
I think you try to choose between Pritchard and Hauser, one of them, and try to get like what you can out of it. Might do like 10 minutes of both. You could do that. But again, do you really want to roll out like a deep bench lineup against a Dallas team that's probably just going to play their guys big minutes here? I can't see there being a ton of Josh Green. I can't see there being a ton of Maxi Kleber, though. if Celtics are going a little deeper in their big rotation, you can probably try that as Dallas. He actually, I think, fits pretty well in this matchup. But I think Pritchard does too. Like, you go back and watch that last game they played. Luka tried to go at him. He held up decently. Again, stronger guy, low center of gravity. He's done a good job, like, really trying to, like, stand his ground against a guy who's trying to, you know, bump and bang against him. So it's going to be tough, right? Because he'll try to shoot over him. They're going to go to that again and again and again. But you're going to have to live with some of that. Like, I think Luka's going to try to attack Horford. I think they're going to go at Porzingis right away, Jimmy. Like, that's going to be the first play of the game probably, is try to involve him in something, go at him if you're Dallas. And certainly when Pritchard and House are out there, they're going to be going at those guys too. So this series is really going to test Boston's isolation defense if they want to switch a lot. And if they want to go more like hedge that pick and roll and have a guy back playing off someone, you know, it's going to be Derek Jones and PJ Washington to shoot threes. And we'll see what those guys can do. Like, that's been Joe's MO, right? And I actually think that makes a lot of sense here. If you're going to have like a little bit of a physically limited Porzingis, is just playing back at the rim, have him ignore Derek Jones, and have Horford or, you know, some other guy try to guard that pick and roll against Luka. So that way you don't have Porzingis playing out on Luka Doncic, because that's not going to go well 100%, 80%, 60%. Like, you just don't want that. But they're going to have to mix it up a little bit. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of adjustments for Boston in this series, and some of it's going to be based on Porzingis' health.
I'm concerned that, like, that situation, they'll just blow right by Porzingis.
Yeah, so you don't even want it. And, you know, if you're going to have to tip your cap if PJ Washington shoots 60% from three in this series and beats you, or Derek Jones, you know, one of those guys. Like, and that's what Boston's done all year, right? To sometimes infuriate us, and sometimes
Joe said
Great.
it again today, Bobby. It's about what we're going to allow, you know? Like, they have a plan of what they're going to, rather than just say, I'm going to buzz around and make life miserable for these guys. They have a plan on what's acceptable, and then they're going to hope that there's not a ridiculous shooting variance, which I hate. I just hate it. I hate that Joe is still talking about the math at this point in time. I'm sorry.
And there's a lot of variance here, right?
Joe will have won his 7th NBA title in a row, and I'll still be saying this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll be taking it to my grave. I can't get over
I said it already. I didn't like the 2 thing. Give up those 2s and take away the 3s that they've gone to the extreme with almost in these playoffs. But to use that to sweep the Pacers, like, how do you question it? Like, the Pacers shot through the roof mid-range and in, and the Celtics swept them. So, like, how do you question that?
The math works. I hate it. It works. I'm telling you, we're all wrong. We can't wrap our primitive brains around it. It's just crazy that you're going to leave it up to an algorithm instead of just being like, we're a better team. It's smart.
Freaking nerds, man.
Nerds.
Well, I think
Nerds ruin sports.
The nerds are going to take banner 18.
They ruined baseball, and now they're coming for basketball.
So here's where I get a little worried here, because I don't think you can just set one game plan and forget it here. And Joe talked a little bit about that here at practice too. Like, they're going to have to adjust based on what the, you know, points per possession and points per shot are telling them as that kind of builds up through the series. And you remember back to 22, I actually found it interesting that Joe said today he really wasn't involved in that series, because I thought, at least in the Miami series, I guess, maybe it was more the Heat series, he was more part of the defensive game plan. He was getting in there a little bit more. And, you know, that's, I think, where some of the drop and stuff like that started to come in. So maybe it wasn't him against Golden State. But remember, they played a lot of drop against Golden State, and Curry was wrecking them. And
wrecking it. It was so hard to watch.
But they were winning, and you were like, can you live with this? Can you live with this? And then when they adjusted is where it really fell apart, and you tried trapping them, and that's when Wiggins killed you. That's when Green started to get more involved, and that's where you really just fell out of that series. So if Luka's killing you, do you start trapping him? Do you start getting a little bit more aggressive against him? And the numbers actually look pretty good trapping Dallas. I think, like, against trap, they're like 0.79, which is really bad.
Yes.
But, man, he gets that ball out quick, and it's just going to end up in some open guy's hands. And so the Celtics don't like to play that way, right? They like to play back. They like to play a little more passive defensively. But this might be a series that forces you to get a little bit more aggressive. So I'm super intrigued to see how they're going to defend this team. I know you always like to talk about the offense, John, but this to me is like a defensive chess match between these teams.
I have a question for Bobby. May I proceed? Bobby, who is the player on the Mavericks that we are not talking about? We already know Luka and Kyrie, but who's like the third? There's got to be. I know there's a couple other guys in this team that are gonna surprise Celtics fans, annoy. You know what I mean? Like I know Lively's been obviously he was a hit pick for them this year. Who's the guy though? Like who is gonna do something in this series?
I think it's Washington. Like they're gonna play off him. They played off him in the last game that they played with Porzingis. I think he's gonna be the guy that Porzingis covers when he's out there. Again, because you don't want him covering pick and rolls.
The guy Dallas got for Grant is going to cost the Celtics a championship. Wouldn't that be a kick in the nuts?
Well, he's the reason in many ways they're here. So he was horrible. He was horrible in the West.
Yeah, I mean that and Gafford, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
both of them coming in. So he shot horribly in the West Finals. I think he shot better earlier in the playoffs. He's streaky from three. He's really good in the corners.
I wish we were playing Grant.
That would be the most storyline-filled series ever.
Not for the story, just for how easy this series would be.
Yeah. No, Grant.
And I'd be sitting here saying, "You can't ignore Grant."
Bobby would be insufferable. Bobby would be insufferable if Grant was on the Mavericks for this series. He would be all about it.
No, yeah, you look at Washington because he's another guy like Luka and Kyrie. He's probably the only other guy on this roster that can push 30 points with those guys. If he gets going, I feel like he's going to be one of the guys they try to back off a little bit. And, you can say that with Jones, but he can sneak in there and cut and dunk and stuff like that. So it's a little bit harder to say that. I think Washington's going to be more of a guy who just kind of plants himself in the corner and waits for that shot to come to him. So you try to force them to be a little bit more of a screener. Like they're going to try to involve Porzingis again and again. But the good thing is if they're using Washington as that screener, that just sort of leaves Lively and Gafford standing around. And that's going to make it a little bit more crowded in the paint there. So he's the guy. Like if he's hitting threes, you're probably going to lose this series. If he's missing like he was last series, it's going to be a lot harder for Dallas because then it's just a two-man show.
Yeah, John, and you can sustain that. What's up, Jimmy?
No, nothing. It's going to change the subject, so you can finish it.
All right. Well, before you change the subject, I'm going to change the subject, and we're going to talk a little bit about Nutrafol. Summer is here, my friends. Means days outside at the park, on the beach, in the pool, and you got to take a little bit of extra care of your hair this summer. It's a perfect. Yeah. You got to. It's
you're outside. Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect time to start taking Nutrafol. It's the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. Over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. No one wants to be shedding hair.
You don't,
Jimmy.
And that happens in the summer. That happens more in the summer, but not with Nutrafol though.
You don't want it. And look, everybody's hair journey and how it goes and how it thins is different for everybody. So again, it's physician formulated, drug-free ingredients, healthy hair grown from within, targeting key root causes of thinning. And that includes stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, lifestyle, all of it. And that's what it's targeting here.
So something real quick.
Nope, this is my verbatim call to action. Okay. Get results. You can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your month subscription, free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com. Enter the promo code GARDEN. It's that easy. So once again, Nutrafol.com, enter the code GARDEN. Find out what over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists have recommended Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol, that's Nutrafol.com, promo code GARDEN. Go check it out. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like it's the summer, you talked about hair and all that stuff. Has anyone seen the price of sunblock? If you're going to start rubbing that all over your bald head, that's going to cost you more than whatever Nutrafol would cost, okay? So I would say it's kind of a wash. You don't want to have to do that. So perfect time to consider a little Nutrafol action.
Yep, check it out. So guys, Jimmy, you did want to change the subject, and you now have the floor.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at our cues down here. Luca on KP. Let's watch that. Let's see what that's all about.
Oh, you
Could
wanted
they
to
hide
see
him
that?
then?
No. So earlier yesterday, Chandler Parsons, I think
Yes.
working for FanDuel or something like that, goes out there and he's like, dude, serious beef, okay?
Right.
Between Luca and KP, and other people have alluded to that as well. This just happened to be Chandler Parsons putting it out there most recently, but there's been other talk about like the subplot of this series being not only is Kyrie the villain here, but they hate Luca in Dallas, and they don't like Luca in Dallas, but also
Porzingis.
I mean, they don't like Porzingis in Dallas, but Luca supposedly doesn't like Porzingis either. And he was asked specifically about that, and here's what he had to say.
See, that's why I haven't watched a lot of that, because people don't know. I talked to Chandler Parsons maybe twice in my life, so I don't know how he would know that. But me and KB have a good relationship. I don't know what people to say otherwise.
So he shot it down.
Shot it down pretty quick, says he doesn't have it. I don't know whether he does or doesn't, but definitely a little bit of extra pressure on KP, knowing that like he's not public enemy number one necessarily in Dallas, but they didn't love the KP era there. Everyone thought that KP was the wrong running mate for Luca. People wanted him out once he got there. It wasn't a good fit. There were some knocks on his commitment and whether or not, playing through injury or what he was doing there. These were not good years for him there. No one in Dallas looks back on the KP era fondly. And now if he's going to go out there hobbled, it's not going to look great.
So I was trying to look up. I'm trying to look up Chandler Parsons' deal, but I can't imagine that anybody in Dallas likes Chandler Parsons, because didn't he sign a deal with them and then get hurt and then basically never?
It was the deal was with Houston that he'd signed.
Oh, it was with
I
Houston?
believe.
I thought it was.
No, I think he went from Houston to Dallas, right?
Oh, Houston, Dallas signed him to the big deal, but okay, yeah.
And then he kind of fell off.
Busco, yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone should be hated,
he's like the number one. He was like an analytics darling. People like what they would tell you that Chandler Parsons did not at all jive with the eye test.
Well, he also made like $500,000 in Houston, so he was like the best value guy in the league, and then he was the contract and
3 years, $46 million.
Which looks minuscule now, obviously, but
yeah. But at the time that was a good chunk of change. Anyways, sure. So that's I guess the storyline with the players not liking each other is not. And we talked about this yesterday, Bobby. The players aren't going to get wrapped up in who's coming to town, and
Porzingis took the high road today too.
Yeah, Porzingis. The players in Dallas aren't going to get wrapped up in it. Porzingis coming back. The players in Boston aren't going to get wrapped up in Kyrie coming back. It's all about where the fans are at with them. If the fans have animosity towards Porzingis, I'm sure, especially after they hear the booze that Kyrie's going to get game 1 and game 2, they're going to let KP hear it. Like that's just that's part of it. I fully expect that to happen. You can call Porzingis a bust in Dallas. So it's like fans would feel that way, whether it's right or wrong. That's just how they're going to feel. So that is a little side thing, but it was interesting. I don't think
there's going to be the nasty atmosphere that there is in Boston toward Kyrie.
Not at all.
In fact, I saw some people saying that there was actually a pretty good reception for Porzingis when he would go back there with the Wizards and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know if it's as much the fans as it is the front office there and frustrations from the team about how it went. I know that's what, Drew Carter was talking a little bit about when he came on here, that he's kind of heard rumblings about. So I think it's not going to be Kyrie goes into the Garden and a lot of it's going to be on Kyrie. The pressure's going to fall on Kyrie. And we talked a lot about that yesterday, about how he's going to handle that. I just don't think Porzingis is going to walk into Dallas and it's going to be all about him. And this team certainly isn't all about Porzingis.
Yeah. No one thinks that.
I think that limits the pressure on him. There's probably a little bit more pressure on Luka in that sense, because he shares some blame there certainly too. Like Porzingis was just hurt for a lot of that run. And even, Mavs fans, we had a Mavs fan on here the other day and he's saying like Luka was overweight that whole time. Like, so there's some pressure on Luka here too to perform to the level he can. And
when did Luka stop being overweight?
I haven't seen the number.
Yeah, he's always been a little chubby, a little.
He hasn't been in shape yet.
Right.
So
How about this comment?
Oh, that's awesome! Look at this endorsement.
Yeah. Use Game Time
Awesome.
today. Get concert tickets and use the CLNS code. Thanks, guys. I couldn't find these tickets anywhere this cheap for the sold-out show. Not only did he get tickets to a sold-out show, but he saved $20 by typing in the code CLNS on the Game Time app. So he's going to get himself a free beer at this sold-out show. I'm wondering what show it was. Let us know in the comments what it was. Thanks a lot.
yeah,
You can
shows.
You can clip that now too, and you can send that to the
A lot of stuff going on in the summer. But
one thing we haven't talked about. All right, finish, Bobby.
Luka's got a show out here. I think it goes both ways here. And he was great against Minnesota. But overall, the numbers aren't phenomenal these playoffs. In many ways, he's putting up Tatum numbers shooting-wise. So those two guys come in here even playing in terms of the pressure on them, I feel like. You know, there's a little more pressure on Tatum, I feel like, just because the expectations for this team. Dallas, it's a little gravy for them, obviously. But for the individual players, individual matchup, it's fairly equal. And I don't think Porzingis is looped in with that. Porzingis just has to do his job. And the one thing I'll say, if you are just having him back at the basket, if you are just kind of having him picking and popping, he can just step into those threes. Like, he doesn't have to move a lot out there. So that's a benefit for him in this series. Like, if he had to be Porzingis Dallas, if he had to be Porzingis Wizards, or certainly Porzingis New York in this series, you're like, oh, this isn't looking good. But the reason they went 12-2 without him is because they don't rely on him as much. So maybe that's another reason they're able to put him out there. Is they just don't need as much of him. So we'll see.
You think so?
Thank you to Matt Ducharme too. See that, guys?
Depending on how they handle it, John. Like, can they get away from him if it's not going well? That's going to be the key.
Yeah, but it changes all of what you're going to do. It changes a lot of what you're going to do.
Right. Yeah, I'm just talking about his role when he's on the court. It's just pick and pop and staying back at the rim and playing that drop. So fortunately for him, and this is the reason he said he hasn't been as injured as much prior to this, is there's just not as much crazy movement out there for him. It's a pretty straightforward role. And he can just kind of catch. I know, like, if he's banging in there in the post, and they really haven't gone to the post, it feels like, as much in these playoffs, that's maybe is a problem physically. But a lot of times he's just kind of turning and shooting over these guys.
Turning
right?
and shooting over people on a switch, yeah.
So you're hoping that the movement for him is fairly limited. The problem is it'll slow you down a little bit, right? They do play a little slower with him out there. So, these are all just things to watch for.
It is. So again, I don't know how to put this on here because I didn't want to be, I didn't think it'd be a total wet blanket sort of kind of day and show, but
we made the most of it.
Porzingis depressed me today. He made me a sad girl. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, you should be out at the bars right now, dude.
Josiah, I'll be there. Come find me. Inside joke. Inside baseball. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. What is it? Was this a good day or a bad day? The day that Porzingis is playing, and then the day that Kristaps Porzingis basically told us, like, I have no idea what's going to happen to me out there.
I think overall, I mean, that you're either glass half full or glass half empty guy, depending on how you answer this. I mean, I think the fact that there is the opportunity or the chance that he is going to play game one, it sounds like he's going to play game one. So I think in that sense, it's a good day because, a week ago or 10 days ago, we didn't know for sure. We had no idea. So it's obviously good that he's going to give it a go, but we should talk Thursday around 11 o'clock, right here again, in this very same network, whether or not it was a good thing or a bad thing, because we'll have a lot more answers then. But I think overall, you have to be happy that he's going to give it a go. But of course, you didn't get the delivery you were hoping for. All right. It wasn't like if it wasn't like if you had told a girl that you loved her and that was her kind of response, sure. Like,
exactly.
She loves you, man. But like, does she?
And she's like, thanks.
Yeah. And she thinks about it for 10 seconds and she's like, yeah.
Do you love me?
The plan is to marry him.
We have a very
do we have that
relationship. Clip? Yeah. Which
that clip was incredible when Gary asked him if he's 100%. Or no, do you expect to be pain free, or are you pain free?
Right.
And Porzingis was just like, yes.
Yeah.
yes,
He had to, like,
we do. I don't have that
he
cut.
locked
But
eyes with
the pause was so long. He was like,
he locked eyes with Wick, like in the back of the press room, and Wick was like, "Yes, tell them yes," and then he went,
So-
"Yeah."
He did look at someone. I couldn't tell who it was.
You were there.
so I'll ask you this. There's a few people on here
Okay.
jumping off the KP bandwagon entirely, saying things like, "Well, this you knew what you were getting. You got the soft guy. You got the
That brings
you know,
us back to the conversation from the summer, right?
Mm.
You cannot finish this series and throw your hands up and go, Porzingis was hurt. What are you going to do? That
but
is
they
not
will-
what we're going to
There's
do.
people still saying the Celtics never lost a series with the Kendrick Perkins and the healthy
Yeah, no,
starting.
you
blah
can't
blah
do
blah.
it here. You can't.
Yeah.
We crossed
by the
off
way,
that
Perk-
excuse
Perk is not a
in
big
August.
leader. We did. We
So,
did cross that.
that's
excuse.
You
not
will
on
do
the
it. Two
board.
things will happen here. We're jumping way ahead here, but if Porzingis plays is ineffective, Porzingis plays and is hurt, and it derails the finals and a shot here. And I'm not saying that would happen. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of doubt in the offseason. There's part of the risk involved there too, because two things will happen. One, you'll have the fallback and say, well, we lost KP, but two, that's who he is. He's a guy who's been hurt on and off a lot of times, and you don't know. And the worst part about it is you load managed him all year, and he only missed a couple of short stints, and then the one killer friggin' injury is now, and it's heading into the finals, and they still don't have it. I mean, thankfully, it didn't happen in round 3. He'd be done. And that would be that, because you did not need him any of the first 3. The blessing here is it happened game 3 of the first round. So this is as close as you're going to get, but I don't know. And then the problem is you're not going to assess or address anything going on with the team, because you're just going to say, well, they didn't win because KP was out. And it sucks if that happens.
Right.
So we don't want to do that. You just want to win. So you want him to be as effective as possible naturally, and then you want him to, you want to see this all the way through, because I think everybody feels that fully healthy. Yeah, Brogdon killed you last year too. Killed you. You might win. You might get to the finals. Brogdon's wasn't useless. He was useless. Brogdon's a perfect example of the KP situation here, in that they tried him and it was so bad that it killed them. The times he was out there, it was so bad. Brogdon killed you last year.
He tried to play
and
that
that's what
game 7,
happens.
right?
Yeah, but nobody here, everybody who's been watching and following the Celtics all year fully agrees. Fully healthy Celtics team with Porzingis playing at 100% is too good for Dallas, and they win this series, and you feel really, really, really confident about it. It's thrown a lot of uncertainty into it, so I guess you got to wait and see. What we're waiting for is.
I like your explanation. That could be
he's not sure.
He's looking good. And you have to think that's the case, right? Because you could give him a game or two here if he needed more time. That would get him extra practices. But a lot of the stuff he talked about today was, I haven't played, I haven't been out there, that sort of stuff, right? So that does lend more to your theory there, that this is just a comfort level kind of thing, a trust kind of thing out there. So
it's a trust thing. He's not sure, and he might have visions of KD in his head, and it's that whole like, can I do it? Can I just spring? I mean, Jesus, Tom Brady spent an entire year seeing ghosts post ACL. You see a lot of people coming off of injuries worried about the mechanism that hurt it the first time, or going 100%, and they're a little bit tentative, and sometimes that causes other injuries. So it's like, just to feel totally free and easy and let it fly is, that might be in the back of his head. So
you remember the moment he heard it too, like it was agony. Like he probably had that thought that he was down there.
Yep. Like, oh God, did I just pop my, like, he was like, oh no. Yeah.
So we'll see. And even if it is just that trust factor, Jimmy, he's got to get through that. And that could be something that causes him to struggle. So, it's on him. It's on Joe to react to that. Again, I'm eyeing Joe here, how he's able to handle this and oversee this, because the minutes limit, the medical stuff, that's them. And he's kind of just pointed to them this whole way, right? Like, I don't pay attention to that stuff. Well, now he has to pay attention, and he has to make key decisions here on how often and when this guy's going to play.
You know what I hated low key? One of the things I hated was like, he's like, yeah, you know, I've done my best. He's like, these couple extra days should help some. I'm like, oh my God, you're hoping these next 2 days are going to take you to another level beyond where you are right now. Like, you're either ready or you're not, my man. Like, he was
I
like,
think
yeah,
they're just shooting in the garden tomorrow, right?
yeah. He's like, these 2 days should help. I was like, oh Jesus, you know, like, it's like,
I think it's
I
just
don't
a
know.
couple shoot arounds here, yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch. And the atmosphere right here too, because we talk about Tatum, Brown, Horford, White. They've been here, they've done this. Porzingis has never been out of the first round. And so that's the interesting, like there's a mix on both sides. Luka's never been here, but Luka's played in some big environments. I mean, EuroLeague championships in his teens. So I don't think this is a stretch from that. Maybe it is. We'll see. Kyrie's been to a couple finals. He's been through this. The Celtics guys I mentioned have, but Porzingis hasn't. And so the atmosphere, the rhythm, you know, the days, all that stuff you always hear these guys talk about. He's going through that for the first time too.
Some people
want to play the interview. There you go.
Yeah, some people here are calling for it. They didn't hear it. We're gonna listen to portions of the interview here put together from Porzingis earlier today, just for the people who joined late, who may not have heard it. This is kind of why the tone was a little cautious and a little worried, because it wasn't, you know, as reassuring as some people would have hoped.
100%. Are you 100% right now?
How you doing, guys? Good question. I don't know. We'll see. I have a couple more days, and I've done a lot of work up until this point, and yeah, I've done everything needed to get back into playing shape, and we'll see on the night.
This was a mistake.
So are you planning on being there for game one?
I'm sad again.
That is the plan. So right now, but yeah, again, it's a couple more days, and I think that can make a difference. So every day gives me a bit more time to get even better, you know. So working.
Kristaps, what kind of things have you been able to do on the court so far, and what do you kind of still need to do before Thursday?
Very little, Bobby.
Yeah, I've practiced, especially the lighter practices. I was good. Of course, not a lot of time for me to
practices, I was good.
to get a lot of scrimmaging, a lot of no actual game minutes. So in that sense, it hasn't been perfect, obviously. But yeah, I've tried to build up as much as I can leading up to this point, and from like all aspects, and we'll see. A couple more days will definitely help.
You talked about the limits you've had, Kristaps, in terms of scrimmaging and running. Is some of this going to be that you aren't going to know exactly where you're at until you're in a game situation Thursday, and you are planning and pushing off and going at full speed and seeing how it reacts and feels, or do you feel good about where that's at?
I think the medical staff would not put me out there if they wouldn't be confident that I'll be good, So I've done the things necessary to like check the boxes, and that's it. Of course, like it's hard to imitate the same intensity in practice, no? Like that intensity is going to be a completely different level, but I have to be confident that it'll be all right.
Yeah, so again, guys in the chat, I want to say he is not being coy.
He's the most straight shooting athlete I've ever talked to.
Yeah.
The guy just says exactly what's on his mind.
I'm sorry, guys.
Anybody in the chat is just in denial. It's like,
I know you want to say it. It's not that. I think if you land on the thing that I'd said earlier, he's medically cleared, but he doesn't know because he hasn't pushed himself yet. So he is uncertain. He might physically be fine, but he has no idea whether he is or isn't. And he hasn't done anything serious in a while. And he is not going to be in game shape. Those things are probably real. Doesn't mean he can't be effective in some ways or be impactful. you might get close to everything you want out of him, but he is not sure how this is going to go. He's not messing. This was not at all gamesmanship. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, it really wasn't. Don't apologize, John. They need to hear it. This is something
sorry.
that people
What are
need.
we apologizing for?
Yeah, I'd love it. What are we apologizing for?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather it be gamesmanship. I would love it. And honestly,
I would have loved it if he
I'll
lied
put myself
to us.
in the biggest apology
Get ready, John.
ever.
He's gonna score
If
20.
he comes out and he
25
just
points.
friggin' starts and then he's grinning the whole time like,
Yeah.
suckers, I was good the whole time.
We're gonna start
I
the
would love
show.
that.
Well, I'll start the show on an apology cam. Hand up. We were wrong. They got us.
100%.
That would be the best apology cam
The
of my
best
life.
So this is a
scenario.
good comment right here. I know it's not the
I would
exact
love
same.
to apologize, yes, for that.
I know it's not the exact
Everybody.
same situation, and there were certainly more injuries on the New York side that made this situation more devastating. But when he came out that opening possession, and you just saw him sort of going like a little shuffle up the floor, couldn't move, couldn't like get into his dribble, the whole energy of the team just went.
Boom. The announcers were like, "Oh my God, this!"
And then he was
can't even
gone, and
walk."
you never saw him
Gone.
again. Yeah. And you know, he was certainly physically limited to the point where he probably shouldn't have even been out there. Like he was just like, all right, let's do this. It's game 7. It's all on the line. I can barely walk, but I'm going out there. Porzingis is obviously in a much better place physically at this point, but it still could be the same effect if he goes out there and really struggles. And again, that's when Joe's going to have to say, we're going to Horford. And can he do that? That's a huge question here if Porzingis does struggle.
Yeah, I mean, look, in his head right now, and I believe that last comment, he's thinking, I don't want to pop an Achilles. Like, I don't want my career to end tomorrow. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know if it's even that deep. He just doesn't know like what
he
it's going
doesn't
to
know
be
what
like.
he can do. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the intensity and the environment's going to be like. Again, he's coming back for the NBA Finals after not playing for a month.
And George, we're
That's
not comparing it
unprecedented.
to the OG situation. We're comparing it to a
The
guy
effect on a team
who came out trying to play and obviously wasn't ready. That's all. Not the injury itself.
The limelights too, Bobby. That's a good point too. It's much different playing in the NBA Finals than and even
he'd probably be speaking
And that's
a little
why
differently if this was round 2,
the,
right?
the Achilles fear is real. The Achilles fear is real with these injuries.
Sure, and he's got lower body, he's got leg injuries.
He's got a lot of legs.
His entire career. So I can understand the hesitation. It doesn't make me feel any better about it, but I understand it.
No, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. But we want to get there. What we'll say to you all here before we wrap it up.
I want to say one other thing before we hang it up too.
Okay, I'll do. I just want to let you guys know tomorrow, Media Day. We will be down at the Garden in advance of the Celtics and the Mavericks.
Let's go.
Game 1 on Thursday, so we'll be down there all day at the Garden, talking to those guys, getting Luke one-on-ones, doing different things. So tons of stuff is going to hit our channel tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe, like the video too. It helps us a lot when you do. Subscribe, like, tell your friends. We're here all the way through. We'll be doing shows pretty much daily or nightly, I should say, throughout the postseason. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll break down what we heard from the players and getting a chance to talk to everybody. There'll be Kyrie again. That's going to be a nice sideshow as well. And that's where we'll be at the Garden, the entire CLNS crew checking it out, back here to break it all down for you tomorrow night. But stay on that channel. There's going to be stuff just kind of flooding all day long. What's up, Bobby? I mean, Jimmy, you wanted to add one thing?
Oh, I wanted to say one. We haven't talked about this at all, and I understand why, but I got to say it. I hate Jason Kidd too. I want to make sure everyone knows that. I can't stand Jason Kidd.
Does that go back to his playing days?
It's 100,000% goes back to his playing days. You want to talk about how Celtics fans hate Kyrie Irving? Jason Kidd was like the original Kyrie Irving almost in that sense. For the Celtics fans who are like 40 years old, that kind of range. John, you remember those days. John doesn't want to talk about it, I guess, but
what'd you say?
You remember those days. You remember those days when Kidd was coming in with the Nets and he was hated in Boston. He was very, very good. He would kill the Celtics. But the Celtics, Pierce and Kidd went back and forth. Walker and Pierce went back and forth. I can't stand Jason Kidd. They had some very good chance against Jason Kidd over the years as a
Is he on your Mount Rushmore of hated players?
When I was a young fan, 100%. Yeah, he got into some hot water too off the court that fans made sure he knew about when he was on the court. So, Bobby, I hate to tell you, it's been a thing in Boston for years, making the opposing player feel uncomfortable coming into Boston. It's going to happen again on Thursday. But Jason Kidd also, let's not forget, dirty coach too, with the trying to spilling the water on the.
Yeah, look, Kidd had a domestic, and they were all over him when the Nets were playing the Celtics back in those early 2000 series. So
yeah, he did. Hate to see it. But then, he's just kind of a schemy guy, schemy player, schemy coach. I don't mean that in a good way, like scheming, like X's and O's. I mean, like
he went at me earlier in the year. Remember? I was trying to ask about Grant, and he was like, he wasn't having it. He was like, I'm not comparing guys. Ask the GM.
We're gonna ask everybody about
Grant. He's an asshole.
Tomorrow.
Kidd is an asshole. I'll just say it right now.
We're asking
everyone about Grant.
Yes,
don't ask
everybody.
Kidd.
No, you should ask Kidd. Do whatever you have.
You know
to
why?
do
You know why you ask Kidd?
Because you know why? Because it's the Bill Belichick principle here. When you get to the big stage, you don't want to be an asshole. You can be an asshole on the road to the friggin' smarmy local reporter who's trying to get that soundbite off of you, and you can do it to your home media that's just going to kiss your ass the next day anyway because they're afraid of you. You cannot do it on a national stage because everybody sees it. So this is the chance to ask everybody everything. Yeah, like I cannot wait to see. I do not think the world is ready for National Joe Mazzulla. I don't think the national. And I'll tell you this. I'll tell you how not ready they are. Here's a little
international Joe Mazzulla. They're going to be translating Joe into other languages
today. A closing anecdote for what happened today. So we're at practice. Porzingis talks first, then Joe. Joe goes off to the side, and there's a little side door where they duck into the lunchroom or wherever it is after they were done there. And on his way out, Joe passes a television, and there's a lower third chyron on the screen that says, it didn't say anything inflammatory like Celtics will have hard time stopping. It just said Dallas Mavericks pick and roll with like Lively and Gafford. It was just talking about how they utilize this and how it's been a weapon for them. And these guys are lob threats with Luka. That's it. It was just basically saying they run a lot of pick and rolls, with their 1-5 pick and rolls. And Mazzulla stops on his way and just starts talking to whoever will listen. And he's like, look at this pick and roll. And he starts ranting about like picking apart that. Like, how dare they talk about this? Oh, sure. Yeah, that's going to happen. But if you do that, you take away something else. These ridiculous narratives. And he just craps all over ESPN
he's been steaming for a week or two here
for a bullshit narrative about whatever. And everyone's like, okay, Joe, it's probably time to go have lunch, buddy. But everyone's listening to him. And you know what? He was saying interesting things. He started talking basketball about if they do this and then you do this and you do that and you do that. But basically just saying like ESPN's too dumb to really understand what it even means if they do this. And this is another bullshit take. And here they are creating narratives again.
Cool with the little ESPN hate. That's fine.
Well, that's what we talked about all along, right?
He is on a high.
Don't cross him.
Joe Mazzulla right now. Yeah. He is on high alert. Okay,
and he has been for a week now. And we talked about this, right?
He is 12 out of 10.
You trust the basketball knowledge. You understand why he's clapping back at people questioning his knowledge who really don't have the authority to do so. But you also question the demeanor to some degree for this moment, right? Like this is a big stage here. And so it's not going to look great if there's a bad loss and it's just a little tense, a little, it's one of those classic Joe situations. But again, I trust him as Jimmy, I'm sure does, more than Kidd, way more than Kidd. And he is crushed
I think Joe's done really well this playoffs. I have no problem with the Joe coaching. I just think Joe and his intensity it's going to be introduced to the world in a way it hasn't been before. And I'm just curious how it's does he have that, like, because Belichick, I always would say Belichick would beat the crap out of us every single day, give us absolutely nothing, treat us with disdain, whatever you want. And whether you say the media deserves it, that's fine. Most people don't like the media, and they like Bill and they like the winning, and it's no big deal. It's not like we're playing the victim. It's just the reality. Bill treated the media with total disdain. He'd get to the Super Bowl, you could ask him anything, and he'd be like, that's a great question. Big smile.
Joe has that switch too, though.
Happy, magnanimous Bill. And we're like, that's not the fucking guy we talk to every day.
Have you heard Joe on the radio?
Fraud. You're a fraud. So yeah, Joe, I wonder if Joe's got that gear here.
Joe's got the radio switch he might turn on tomorrow. We'll see. If they're asking him about like the music he likes and stuff like, is that kind of what tomorrow's like? I can't really remember. Or is it more of the serious stuff?
Look, it's a little of both. You're going to have, because you've got, it's a big gaggle of media, and they're going to try to ask a bunch of things, and you'll have like kid reporters and international reporters and lots of different people, and people are going to have very specific angles about things, and it's just a chance to ask a lot of different stuff. So
they had Guillermo at the finals in 2022. I hope he's back.
It's going to be a mix. There'll be some goofy stuff too, but I mean, a lot of people are there just to cover basketball, so you're going to get that also.
He had the ball. He was having guys shake the ball, and it said, "Pay Guillermo $10 for everyone who shook it."
Yeah, no doubt about it. So it's fun. It's fun, but yeah, it'll be a little of everything. Little day of levity tomorrow, and then we're full tilt.
It's
ready
go
to go.
time. I mean, this has been ridiculous. Let's start the series.
Tomorrow's the last day you can buy merch before game day. I'm not saying you'll get it before game day if you buy it tomorrow, but we got a lot of merch at CLNS you guys can still buy. We get the phenomenal t-shirts. We're getting phenomenal hoodies, have been finalized, and those are going to be up on the website. We've got Garden Report mugs, CLNS mugs. The Garden Report logo t-shirt is back in stock. We got a new t-shirt. How about them damn Celtics? That's a Cedric Maxwell saying. Those are up there. And the hard hats, the hard hats, I'm told, we're waiting for the final decal. We got the thing is, guys, we didn't want to cheap out on the hard hats as far as the stickers and everything that goes on it. We wanted stuff that was going to stay on these things. So we're waiting for that final piece to come in. They're going to go up for sale immediately. They're going to go very quickly. So as soon as you see it announced on the show, or if I tweet it, follow me at my Twitter account, Jimmy_Toscano. Gonna have to hop on them real quick, but they are coming any day. I would say the next two. I'm saying in the next 2 days they're going to be up for sale.
Any day now.
Shipped immediately, because we don't have them until they're made in house, so they're going to be shipped out day after they're ordered. So you're not going to have to wait. Some people have been waiting a while. We apologize for some of the t-shirts. Everything that was on back order everything remaining on back order is being shipped out tomorrow. If you haven't got that notification, you will. Some people who had to wait a little bit longer have already been notified. They've been given on us with not having to pay. They've been given a little extra bonus gifts, is what I'm told. So
nice.
There you go. And that's that. That's the merch plug, John. I know you love the merch plug part of the show.
I love that I'm not involved in it at all. I love that you guys have just bypassed me on it. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
March it up.
We're gonna have to come up with some Boomer shirts with your picture. It's like right in the front. Boomer Rage.
4 wins to go, guys. 4 wins to go. That's all we have here. Celtics in the finals. Game 1 now. Less than 48 hours away. We got the Kristaps news. We will see. I think it's hold your breath time until that ball is tipped. But again, that's what we're all waiting for anyway. So let's get to it. Like we said, keep it here tomorrow. Keep it here throughout the day. Tomorrow we'll have a ton of stuff. Follow us all on Twitter here for notifications. Jimmy, go ahead and cover up our Twitter handles while I give that prompt, and we will see you guys later. Take care.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game. Forfeit's out. I think it's an auction. That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.